She was laying in the yard, and her hair was frozen to the ground.
A group of boys crowded around, looking at a phone.
You carried her upstairs passed out. Why did you lie to the police?
She said, "I'm scared. I did something that I didn't want to do."
Who took the video?
The whole town split up into sides, Daisy against people that were very, very vicious.
And that was a clip from the new Netflix original documentary, Audrie and Daisy, the harrowing story of two young girls who are sexually assaulted as minors, one of whom ultimately chooses to end her life under the unbearable cyber shaming that follows. Joining us now to discuss the documentary are directors Bonni Cohen and John Shenk. Welcome, Bonni and John.
Thanks for having
us. Really
Thanks
nice
for
to have you
us.
both here. Tell us how you first got interested in doing this story, these two stories, really.
Sure. Well, John and I have been working together for a long time. We're married, and we have two teenagers of our own.
That's a great partnership. You work and live together.
That's we'll have to book another moment on the show to talk about that. But yeah, you have to really trust each other, obviously, and collaborate well, especially with subject matter like this. So we got interested because we are being reintroduced right now to the world of teenagers, and we have teenagers of our own too, a boy and a girl, and just the kind of wild west of social media right now was really interesting exploration for us, and we thought, you know, there's got to be something in there that we as parents need to be exploring as filmmakers.
I mean, both of these cases on their own are so harrowing, regardless of the social media aspect. But in both cases, do you think that just exacerbated the situation?
Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, sex assault, unfortunately, has been with us since the beginning of time. Right. The new piece that was just so shocking because it's so different than our childhood and the girls themselves, the survivors of these assaults, say the bullying with the use of kind of these trophy pictures and videos that are taken at the time is much worse than the original assault itself.
Yes, and then the shame that follows. I mean, the tragic case of Audrie Potts, 15 years old.
Horrible.
The cyber shaming that followed her sexual assault caused her to take her life. Now, you had a chance to interview two of the young men convicted in her case. Were they able to recognize their wrongdoing when you spoke with them?
It's a tough question. I mean, you know, I think that they felt remorse, but they had been, you know, they were so young when this happened in their lives as well, and they'd been through a criminal proceeding. And when we interviewed them, they were already quite broken. And so it was hard to, it might have been too early to try and get real kind of transformative thought out of them. But they, you know, they were having a very hard time. They were really struggling with how to cope with what they had done, and so verbally it was hard to get it out of them.
I'm sure. And John, your interview with them revealed also that they kept sort of an online trove of pictures. Is that right?
That was
one of the surprising things to us that turns out is actually quite common is that you know, the percentage of girls that are asked for a nude selfie in high school by the time they finish high school is incredibly high, practically 100% from our just kind of talking to our kids and their friends. Yeah, these middle school boys who ultimately went on to assault Audrie Potts had been trading classmate nude selfies of classmates since 6th, 7th grade.
That girls willingly gave them, apparently, in most cases here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they felt pressured to do so.
I mean, Audrie never did it, actually, but many of her classmates had.
It's scary stuff. What's the takeaway here then for parents, your parents yourselves? You've got teenagers. They're going to be on social media. There's nothing we can do about it. How do you address it? How do you talk about it with your kids?
Well, we had this incredible experience. You know, we have teenagers.
Yeah.
And during the making of the film, we were able to share rough cuts of the film with our kids and their friends. And this light bulb went off, which was, oh my God, if we can put a concrete story out there like Audrie and Daisy for them to talk about, not their own story, but you know, somebody else's story, the conversation just starts and blossoms from there.
Now, Daisy is the other young woman whose story you follow in the documentary. How is she doing now? Where is she now, and how is she doing?
She's actually doing quite well. She's in college, and she's also working as an apprentice in as a tattoo artist. And she's wrestling. She's on a wrestling scholarship at her college. So she has really kind of come out of the ashes of this disaster in her life and built her life back together and rehabilitated. She's done a lot of work. Not every day is great, but she's really building her life back.
She certainly was able to come forward at a certain point, which is so many victims of sexual assault find they're not able to do. No judgments one way or the other, but that's, personal choice. Recently, we saw another sexual assault survivor, Chessie Prout. She came forward. She was assaulted at St. Paul's School. Do you find, having done this documentary and looking into these cases, that when the survivors are able to come forward, they get some empowerment out of that, or it depends?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I mean, there's a lot of young women and girls out there who respectfully keep their anonymity. But I think, through stories like Daisy's and others where young women and girls are coming out, we know anecdotally that they find a lot of power in finding strength in other girls who've been through what they've been and
yeah, they find each other and they build a little community for themselves.
Absolutely. Bonni and John, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Talking to us today.
Thank you very much.